good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to This Is Now. We are tracking two developing stories right now. First, Kamala Harris is announcing her vice president running mate, Walz. They are speaking live. We will go to that in a few minutes. But first, we are tracking a shooting out of West Oahu.
That's right. Honolulu police investigating a fatal shooting. This happened just before 11 this morning near the Waianae Small Boat Harbor. Honolulu EMS's crews found a male in his mid-30s with multiple gunshot wounds. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Now, viewers sent us some photos, if we can pull that up. They say a witness saw a gray truck that was involved. Multiple agent and sources say a suspect is in custody. Waianae Intermediate School posted on social media that the campus went into a soft lockdown. That's where students and staff are kept indoors.
Now, once again, these details just coming in within the last 20 minutes or so. We will continue to bring you the very latest as we continue to gather more from police as well as our sources. And again, we also want to take you live now to Vice President Kamala Harris. They are having a rally. Let's go ahead and listen in.
So invested in our friendship in doing this together, because together with Josh Shapiro, we will win Pennsylvania. We will win Pennsylvania. And I thank you, Josh. I thank you. So Philadelphia, I launched my campaign for the President of the United States a mere 2 weeks ago. And it's been a bit of a whirlwind. And just last night, the delegates to the Democratic National Convention finished voting. And so I stand before you today to proudly announce I am now officially the Democratic nominee for President of the United States. And so now we got some work to do. We need to move to the general election and win that. And to all the friends, listen, we also need to level set. We are the underdogs in this race. But we have the momentum, and I know exactly what we are up against. Now, many of you know, before I was elected vice president or elected a United States senator, I was an elected attorney general, and before that, elected district attorney. And before that, I was a courtroom prosecutor. So in those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women, fraudsters who scammed consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, Donald Trump's type.
And we're going to have more on this rally coming up in later editions of What You News Now, on air and online.
And we also want to turn now to a recap of the announcement today in which Harris announced Walz as her running mate.
Because as Kamala Harris says,
Vice President Kamala Harris unveiling her 2024 running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz.
I learned to be generous towards my neighbors, compromise without compromising my values. And so when I went into government, that's what I carried with me. I worked with Republicans to pass an infrastructure bill, cut taxes for working families, signed paid leave into law.
The former public school teacher turned politician has signed off on policies ranging from protecting access to abortion to providing free meals for Minnesota students, a progressive record he defends.
What a monster. Kids are eating and having full bellies so they can go learn, and women are making their own health care decisions.
Supporters say the 60-year-old's background resonates with Midwestern and rural voters.
He's the kind of a guy that, let's say, if I had a breakdown in my Velomobile, he would probably stop and help me fix it.
But he has faced criticism for his handling of protests following the death of George Floyd. Some argue he should have deployed National Guard troops sooner, an argument J.D. Vance is also making.
Tim Walz allowed rioters to burn down Minneapolis in the summer of 2020.
The Trump campaign weighing in on their opponents with this new ad.
Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. They're failed, weak, and dangerously liberal.
In a race this tight, political experts tell me the number 2 person on the ticket could be the difference maker.
Walz can bring that sort of Midwestern, middle of the country sensibility to the ticket and to the conversation that will play well in places like Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio.
The duo is making their case in some of those battleground states this week. And while Harris and Walz hit the campaign trail this week, J.D. Vance will be close on their heels. He plans to follow Harris across swing states for several days as Republicans look to slow the momentum around the Harris campaign. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
Hawaii Senator Mazie Hirono says she's delighted with Vice President Harris's pick. She says she and Governor Walz were both elected to the U.S. House back in 2006 and were part of the same incoming class of freshman lawmakers.
Authenticity, decency, leadership. I think that this is a team that's going to get it done. He's just the most decent, likable, authentic person I've been very proud of how he has been as governor of Minnesota.
Oahu authorities are looking for a missing inmate. State officials say Rory Sitani left the Laumaka Work Furlough Center without permission around 11 a.m. yesterday. The 39-year-old was in for criminal property damage and burglary and was a community custody inmate, the lowest security classification. Sitani is 5'11" and 290 pounds. Call 911 if you see him. Still no sign of missing pregnant woman Misha Johnson. The military says the 19-year-old is married to a service member at Schofield Barracks. She was reported missing last Thursday. Johnson is 5'2", 170 pounds, and has a large dragon tattoo on her back. The military is offering a $10,000 reward in the case. Any information, call the Army's Criminal Investigation Division at the number on your screen. The small boat harbor in the center of Lahaina town was home to more than 99 vessels before the deadly wildfire nearly a year ago. Now it's completely empty and most of the infrastructure was destroyed by the blaze. Casey Lund is in Lahaina with a look at the progress and more from boaters who are anxious to get back to work.
Aloha from Mala Wharf. This is about 1.1 miles upshore from Lahaina Small Boat Harbor. This is a really important space here because a lot of those recreational boaters, fishermen use this. Now a lot of commercial boaters are also using this. They're taking their customers out on their skiffs to their bigger vessels so they can still operate even with Lahaina Small Boat Harbor closed. The U.S. Coast Guard says close to 50 recreational boats were destroyed in the fire. About 28 commercial vessels were also lost.
This is what's left of Lahaina Harbor, and you can see the number 4 and 5, so that would be slips 4 and 5. And the Reef Dancer was at slip 6. So we were there. The booth is gone. The finger pier is gone.
That's Heidi Speedy, owner of Reef Dancer, a semi-submarine that was her pride and joy. It was destroyed in the August 8th fire. She's in a tough spot like so many other commercial boaters that lost everything. They're eager to get their business back up and running, but with very little progress when it comes to actually rebuilding the harbor, their options are few and far between. A small storage locker with some parts and merchandise is really all she has left of her business. With no clear path forward, buying a new vessel with no harbor to put it in is a pretty big financial bet.
They don't have the timeline of when that'll be done, the entire harbor project, or even it's not completely sure if they even have enough money to finish it, but we don't have a timeline. And at this point, boats like ours, there's some of us that simply can't relocate to Maui. The conditions are so different than Lahaina Harbor, and there's not enough slips now that some of us, small family boats, run boats, can't just move over there. So we are just waiting to go back.
Yes, for some prior boat owners who were previously at Lahaina Small Boat Harbor, they're able to use slips at Maui Harbor, about 16 miles down the coast. It's where Maui firefighter Keahi Ho has been with his temporary boat for a while now after losing his beautiful sailboat and small business, Gung Ho Sailing. He also lost his home in the fire. He says he's being patient. He wants the state to get it right, but of course he would like to see things move faster.
I think that the harbor is the heart of the town, and I think that the town is going to grow off of the harbor, and I would really like to see some urgency from the state and the feds to really, some importance and some urgency that this is important for Lahaina, it's important for the whole side of West Maui, it's important for Lanai, it's important for Molokai. It's really important for this whole end of the Maui County.
We spoke to the administrator for DLNR's DOBOR, the Division of Boating and Ocean Recreation, Megan Statz, who says the future of Lahaina Small Boat Harbor relies on funding, and until the legislature is able to put money behind that rebuilding process, it's difficult to give a timeline. Those slips have to be rebuilt, the harbor has to be dredged due to inactivity, and so much more. But today there are signs of progress. Of course, although we're here at Malo Wharf, the fuel dock has reopened at Lahaina Small Boat Harbor. Pacific West Fuel is investing $750,000 to get that back up and running, though they say 80% of their customer base lost their boats in the fire, so they don't expect to turn any profit. And you do have to be an account holder with Pacific West Fuels to use that fuel dock. So we'll be here on the ground in West Maui covering the recovery from all angles. Reporting in Lahaina, I'm Casey Lund for Hawaii News Now.
Well, it has been nearly 1 year since wildfires completely changed the town of Lahaina forever. Many survivors are still looking for ways to rebuild their homes and their lives. Hawaii News Now will revisit Maui tonight in a 1-hour special that looks at the changes made since the disaster and the work that is still left to do. Our Chelsea Davis has a preview.
1 year since the deadliest U.S. wildfire in over a century.
Oh my God, this is a nightmare.
And the crisis is far from over. Many fire survivors are still struggling to rebuild their lives.
That we have a serious battle or issue on our hands as local people, not just Hawaiians, but local people in Lahaina. And we need to stick together.
Like, he wants to stay here and grow up with his cousins here because that's why I'm born and raised here. And rip that opportunity away from him, it sucks.
While there is still sorrow, there are also signs of progress in Lahaina.
It's taken a long time just to do this much, but slowly but surely, I guess, the tortoise wins the race.
I'm in my 70s. I don't have a long time to wait, so I wanted to get back and, have it finished in my lifetime. It's given hope not only to my family, but I think the community too.
And also in upcountry Maui.
I know it was a very overwhelming situation for everyone, but if it wasn't for the community coming together, it would have been a lot worse.
And in the year since the fires, many steps have been taken to prevent another disaster anywhere in Hawaii.
We have put wildland thermal imagers on all of our engines.
We've done a lot by learning from what Maui went through.
There was definitely lessons learned, stuff that we could do better.
Also in this last year, we've seen many stories of hope and resilience. Lahaina Luna's beloved football team is the perfect example.
Playing for the school, it just means something that no one can really explain.
Hard work on three. 1, 2, 3.
We walk by faith, not by fear. I kind of just have faith, everything will come back together.
Please join us tonight for Maui wildfires disaster 1 year later at 7 p.m. on KGMB and streaming on our H&N digital platforms. I'm Chelsea Davis for Hawaii News Now.
And now we share the news of a passing of a mana wahine in Waianae. Community advocate Twinkle Borge has died. She passed yesterday, according to the group Pu'uhonua o Waianae. That's the name she gave to the houseless community she ran near the Waianae boat harbor. A group known for its discipline and aloha. She lived there for about 17 years, and Twinkle was her real name. Her nickname was Mama.
The leader who makes every other Hawaiian feel proud to be who we are, because she embodied that genuine aloha, that genuine love and kindness and caring. And when she needed, she was tough love too. She's truly respected. I respect her greatly.
One of her favorite things to say was that Kuleana wakes up the mana inside. No word on what caused her death. She was believed to be in her mid-50s. Details on a memorial service are pending. And joining us now to speak more about the passing of Twinkle is our Mahealani Richardson. Mahealani, we just got a statement from the mayor. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, this just came out a few minutes ago, Dylan, and I'll just read from it. He said, "It is with a heavy heart we acknowledge the passing of Twinkle Borge, the visionary, steadfast leader of the Pu'uhonua o Waianae homeless encampment near the Waianae boat harbor. Twinkle was a beacon of hope and a powerful advocate for a houseless community. She was more than just a leader. She was an inspiration and a relentless advocate who believed in every person's potential. Her legacy of kindness, resilience, and community building will continue to inspire us all." But I also spoke to some other houselessness advocates on the Waianae coast, including Waianae Moku o Kupuna Council, and they are devastated. The news has been spreading and people have been sharing what Twinkle, Mama as they called her, what Twinkle had done over the past many, many years. And it really started out 17 years ago, more than 17 years ago, where people were being swept along the Waianae coast, and many of them started to gather at the Waianae boat harbor. And it was in 2018 that they faced an eviction by the state, but it was then Governor David Ige who intervened and said that there would be no eviction. And then it was Twinkle Borge who really developed this community there. And just recently they purchased land at Waianae Valley and started to build hale there.
And we've done many stories with her and about her and her work. Mahel, what was it about her that made her accomplish so much for the houseless community?
Well, Hawaii News Now perhaps had the last public words with her just on Thursday, and she held a media tour, and she was able to get former Governor David Ige, Congresswoman Jill Tokuda, and also the military to come together to help build these hale in the back of Waianae Valley. And this was supposed to be a farm village. They've built about 8 hale so far, and they were very proud. And she said, you know, what she really did was, it wasn't a handout, it was a hand up, and they were determined to build this pu'uhonua on their own. You know, they didn't want handouts, they didn't want charity, so they created their own nonprofit, really to buy 20 acres of land in the back of Waianae Valley, and they said they were going to do it on their own with the help of the community.
I myself used to think it was crazy, but we're doing it. You know, and to do something from bottom up and not hand it to you, that's what you call a blessing. Took me a while, yeah, to actually feel dirt under your feet and knowing it's yours.
Our Mahealani Richardson remembering the life of an incredible community leader out there in West Oahu. Mahea, thank you so much.
All right, let's take a live look again. We're in Pennsylvania where they are rallying. That is Vice President Kamala Harris, and she announced her new running mate, Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota. We are going to have much more news and your weather coming up after this quick break.
Class will be my defining goal as I am President of the United States. So Pennsylvania, ours is a fight for the future of the middle class, and it is a fight for freedom. In this moment, we are witnessing a full-on attack against hard-fought, hard-won freedoms and rights. Take reproductive freedom. Now think about this. Donald Trump said he wants to punish women. And as a result of his actions, today in America, 1 out of 3 women live in a state with a Trump abortion ban. 1 out of 3. Some of these bans go back to the 1800s, even before women had a right to vote. Think about that. Well, Tim and I have a message for Trump and others who want to turn back the clock on our fundamental freedoms. We're not going back. And so let me say about Tim Walz.
How's it on this Tuesday? We're now in the 3rd month of hurricane season. Still very quiet here in the Central Pacific. However, in the East Pacific, we are now tracking 2 tropical storms. The other 2, Carlotta and Daniel, have fallen apart. They are no longer in play. They're not even tropical depression strength. But we are looking at strengthening tropical storms. Both Emilia and Fabio getting stronger, but they are not expected to become hurricanes. And they might even merge to become one system, but still they'll fall apart before it gets to us. So they do not pose a severe weather threat. If we're lucky, we get some rain from it in about a week. But this morning, you can see it still remains fairly dry with a few minor splashes here and there. And those dry conditions will continue for the next few days. Now, in terms of the winds, they will run at breezy levels. I know it's slow right now, but as the day progresses, they'll step up to about 15 to 20 miles an hour in the afternoon. And this is what we'll see tomorrow as well. So it's going to be very, very nice, very comfortable with a few minor splashes here and there. And those winds will lighten up significantly starting on Thursday going into the weekend. And as far as the surf, it'll be dropping island-wide. Still some fun waves in town. That's where the waves are going to be best. It's going to be a little bit bigger over on the south shore, on the east shore, but it is going to be rather choppy. So we've got really nice conditions with those breezy winds through tomorrow. Lighter winds, higher humidity levels, going to be a little bit sticky starting on Thursday. And over the weekend, there's a chance for a few more showers, mainly windward and Mauka.
As Debby slowly makes its way up the east coast, the once hurricane is dropping historic levels of rain on coastal communities big and small, and the threat could last days. Christian Benavides is in Savannah, Georgia.
Debby flooded streets, knocked out power, and damaged oceanfront homes in Edisto Beach, South Carolina.
I mean, it was kind of crazy to see a storm hit like this. Never really seen roads this flooded before.
The storm lashed Charleston overnight with sheets of unrelenting rain. And with many roads underwater and more rain expected, the mayor has extended a citywide curfew until Wednesday morning.
I know this is frustrating to some. The reality is that nobody should be out on the streets in these conditions.
Debby is still causing problems in Georgia. There are plenty of flooded streets, and about 47,000 people began the day with no power. The governor says another 4 inches of rain could soak residents, up to 8 in some areas. He's warning everyone to stay diligent.
Do not let this storm lull you to sleep, as a lot of affected areas right now are not experiencing rain and high winds. But both models are showing that rain will come back.
Here in Savannah, Georgia, cleanup is underway. This tree was uprooted as we felt the worst of the storm overnight. It fell on this home. A woman and her 4 children were inside.
It was out of my hands and everybody else's hands. You know, it's nature, but it's still like moving forward. What do I do?
At the airports in Debby's path, it's been a rough start to the week. On Monday, nearly 1,900 flights were canceled. And with more delays inevitable today, the airlines have all issued travel alerts for many airports in the southeast. Christian Benavides, CBS News, Savannah, Georgia.
On the next Spotlight Now, we will be focusing in on the 1-year anniversary of the deadly and devastating wildfires on Maui. We'll be speaking to Congresswoman Jill Tokuda to get an update on what's happening on the congressional front, as well as others who experienced firsthand what happened on that fateful day last August. Tune into Spotlight Now in K5 at 1 o'clock.
Thank you so much for that. And let's send you live now again to the speech with Vice President Harris and her new running mate.
Do we want to live in? A country of freedom, compassion, and rule of law, or a country of chaos, fear, and hate? And here's the beauty of our democracy. We each have the power to answer that question. We each have the power to answer that question. The power is with the people.
Its first Olympic gold since 2012. And finally, be sure to set your alarms early for tomorrow morning.
That is how we preserve the promise of America. And after all, you know, the promise of America is what makes it possible for two middle-class kids, one a daughter of Oakland, California, who was raised by a working mother, the other, a son of the Nebraska Plains who grew up working on a farm. It's the promise of America, because only in America, is it possible for them together to make it all the way to the White House. And so Coach Walz and I may hail from different corners of our great country, but our values are the same. And we both believe in lifting people up, not knocking them down. He and I, we both know the vast majority of people in our country have so much more in common than what separates them. When we look at folks, we see in our fellow Americans neighbors, not enemies. Not enemies. And so my promise to you is this. Our campaign will reach out to everyone, from red states to blue states, from the heartland to the coast, in rural, urban, suburban, and tribal communities. We are running a campaign on behalf of all Americans. And when elected, we will govern on behalf of all Americans. And so, with Tim Walz by my side, and with all of you at our side, let us fight for the promise of our future. And with that, I ask Pennsylvania, are you ready to make your voices heard? Do we believe in freedom? Do we believe in opportunity?
Thank you. Wow. Thank you, Philadelphia. Thank you, Madam Vice President, for the trust you put in me, but maybe more so, thank you for bringing back the joy. I'm thrilled to be on this journey with you and Doug, this incredible journey. And Pennsylvania, I know you know this, but my God, what a treasure you have in Josh Shapiro. Holy hell, can this guy bring the fire? He can bring the fire. This is a visionary leader. Also, I have to tell you, everybody in America knows when you need a bridge fixed, call that guy. And I think sometimes we forget, and you see people a little one-dimensional, but seeing a guy who cares so deeply about his family, a man with compassion, vision, and I'll have to tell you this, I know this from experience, there is no one you would rather go to a Springsteen concert in Jersey with than him, than that guy. Roots! And I can't wait for all of you and America to get to know my incredible wife, Gwen, a 29-year public school educator.